Hey there, I hope you're all doing well today. I want to share a story that I stumbled upon on Reddit. It's one of those stories that catches you off guard, makes you reflect on your own life, and ultimately reminds you just how fragile relationships can be. It's a true story of love, betrayal, and the consequences of infidelity, one that left me speechless when I first read it. I've always believed that trust is the foundation of any relationship. You hear people say it all the time, right? Trust is everything. But what happens when that trust is shattered? What do you do when the very person you've relied on for love and support turns out to be the one who causes you the most pain? That's exactly what happened to a Reddit user who posted their infidelity story. A story so raw, so personal, it left me reflecting on the complexities of relationships and human emotions. So, let's dive into this tale, one that'll leave you questioning everything about loyalty, love, and human nature. It all started like any other normal day. The protagonist, let's call him Jack, was just going about his life. He was in a committed relationship with his girlfriend, someone he trusted deeply. They had been together for almost 2 years and things seemed to be going great. They'd had their ups and downs, sure, but what relationship doesn't, right? But there's something Jack never saw coming. You see, over the past few months, he noticed his girlfriend acting distant. She wasn't as affectionate as she used to be, and there were days when she seemed distracted, almost disconnected. At first, Jack thought it was just stress from work, or maybe she was just going through a phase. But as time went on, things started to feel off. And no matter how much he tried to ignore it, something deep down told him that something wasn't right. And then, it happened. Jack discovered something that would change everything. It was late one night when Jack had just returned home after a long day. He had a gut feeling, something he couldn't explain. He wasn't looking for trouble, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It was then that he found it, a series of text messages on his girlfriend's phone. You might be thinking, well, maybe she was texting a friend, right? But these weren't just any text messages. They were intimate. And they weren't from someone Jack knew. They were from a guy, someone she had been seeing behind his back. Someone who was now part of her life in ways Jack could never have. Imagine. The messages were filled with affection, inside jokes, and plans to meet up. It was like he had stumbled upon a completely different side of her, a side he had never known existed. And in that moment, Jack's heart shattered. The person he loved, the one he thought he could trust, had been lying to him for months. Imagine the devastation of finding out that your partner, the one you thought was your soulmate, had been living a double life. It's like everything you knew, everything you believed, suddenly crumbled. Jack's mind was racing. He didn't know what to do. Should he confront her? Should he just leave? It felt like his world had turned upside down. Jack decided to confront her, and that was the hardest part. He waited for her to come home, and when she walked through the door, he showed her the messages. Her face turned pale. She couldn't even look him in the eye. And when she spoke, her words were like daggers. She admitted to everything. The affair. The lies. The betrayal. But what Jack didn't expect was how it made him feel physically. As the reality of what had happened hit him, he was overcome with an intense wave of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. His body tensed up. His legs felt weak, as if he could no longer stand. He collapsed onto the couch, unable to move. And that's when the pain set in. For the next 3 days, Jack couldn't walk. It wasn't just a mental block, it was physical. The emotional toll was so great that it had manifested physically. He felt like his whole body had been paralyzed by the betrayal. Every time he tried to move, he felt like his legs couldn't support him. The weight of the situation was too much to bear. He was literally incapacitated by the heartbreak. Those 3 days were some of the hardest of Jack's life. The physical pain was real, but it was the emotional pain that was unbearable. He couldn't stop thinking about how everything had gone wrong. He replayed the events in his mind over and over again, questioning what he missed, what signs he ignored, and whether he could have done something differently. But there was no going back. The trust had been broken, and there was no easy fix. In the end, Jack realized that he couldn't stay in a relationship where trust was no longer a given. He had to leave, no matter how much it hurt. Sometimes, love isn't enough to make up for the damage that's been done. This story may seem like just another tale of infidelity, but there's a deeper lesson here. Infidelity is a betrayal that doesn't just hurt the person who's been cheated on. It destroys trust, damages self-worth, and leaves lasting scars. And while the physical pain Jack felt may have been temporary, the emotional scars will take much longer to heal. It's easy to think that these things only happen to other people, but the truth is, relationships can be fragile. And sometimes, the ones we trust the most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest. So, what can we learn from Jack's story? Maybe it's that we should never take our relationships for granted. We should never stop communicating, never stop caring. And most importantly, we should never ignore the signs when something feels off. After the breakup, Jack spent weeks just trying to pick up the pieces of his life. The weight of the betrayal didn't just affect his body, it haunted his mind. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was one of the hardest periods of his life. It's strange how quickly things can change. One moment, you're planning your future with someone, and the next, you're left with nothing but memories that feel like they belong to a stranger. But Jack wasn't going to let this define him. He knew he needed to heal, and that meant accepting that moving on wasn't about erasing the past. It was about finding a way to rebuild. The days when he couldn't walk felt like a physical manifestation of how helpless and broken he felt inside. But slowly, those days faded. Slowly, he started walking again, literally and metaphorically. But recovery doesn't happen overnight, and the scars from betrayal take a long time to heal. Jack turned to therapy. He began talking to someone who could help him process all the emotions he had bottled up. There's something powerful about speaking to someone who isn't emotionally involved in the situation, someone who can give you an outside perspective, a clear and honest view of your own healing process. But even with therapy, Jack had moments of doubt. There were times he wondered if he would ever be able to trust again. He felt like he had given so much of himself to someone who didn't value him, and now he was left with pieces of a shattered heart. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about learning to trust himself again, about understanding that his worth wasn't defined by someone else's actions. And let me tell you, there's something to be said about how essential self-care is during times of emotional turmoil. Jack wasn't the type of guy who would normally go out for long walks or take time for himself, but now he found solace in these little moments. Whether it was a walk through the park, a quiet evening at home, or just sitting with his thoughts, Jack began to reclaim his peace. He realized that the journey of healing wasn't linear. Some days felt better than others. There were moments when he could laugh again, when he felt a glimmer of joy. But there were also days when he couldn't get out of bed, days when the weight of the betrayal felt heavier than ever. But Jack learned to embrace the process, to allow himself the time and space to heal. He understood that recovery meant not rushing, not forcing himself to get over it in a short amount of time. It was okay to feel pain. It was okay to feel confused. And it was okay to cry. There's no set timeline for moving on, and Jack finally understood that. As the months passed, Jack started reflecting on what went wrong. What did he miss? How did the relationship go from being one of love and trust to one of heartbreak and deceit? He thought long and hard about the kind of partner he wanted to be, and more importantly, the kind of partner he wanted to find in the future. Jack knew that, moving forward, he would never settle for less than what he deserved. He understood the value of trust, honesty, and communication. He also learned to trust his instincts more, to listen to those small whispers inside that tell you when something's wrong. It was the lesson he learned the hardest way, but it was one he would never forget, and with that, Jack started dating again. It wasn't easy, but he wasn't looking for perfection. He was looking for someone who understood the importance of honesty, someone who valued commitment and respect. Jack wasn't just looking for love, he was looking for a partnership that was built on trust and mutual respect. But here's the thing, healing isn't something you can just complete and move on from. It's ongoing. It's a constant, daily choice to choose yourself, to prioritize your well-being, and to take the lessons you've learned and carry them with you. Jack learned to embrace that his past did not define his future. It didn't mean that he would never love again, or that he was doomed to be hurt in the same way. It just meant that he now understood the depth of what it takes to build a healthy, trusting relationship. So, what can we take away from Jack's journey? Maybe it's that betrayal hurts. There's no way around that. But in the end, the healing process is about self-discovery, growth, and reclaiming your strength. Jack didn't just heal his body, he healed his heart. And in doing so, he became a stronger person, someone who had learned the most valuable lesson: never let someone's actions make you forget your own worth. Thank you for listening to this journey of heartbreak, healing, and hope. If you've ever gone through something similar, I encourage you to share your story in the comments. Remember, you're not alone. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more, and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. Take care of yourself, and always remember, your worth isn't defined by anyone but you.